Hello, fifth graders. This is Mr. James. I decided that for the next few lessons, I'd go ahead and teach class outside. It's a nice day out, and hopefully you're getting outside and enjoying some of the nicer weather that's coming our way and getting some outside exercise as well. But I figured why not just come out and do a few lessons out here in my backyard. And so I thank you for joining me. We are starting a new module. This is module 4B, and it's still the same topic of exploring new worlds, but we're going to read some different texts dealing with exploring those new worlds. And so our first lesson today, we have a new enduring understanding, which is that readers understand that comparing and contrasting texts helps them build awareness of similar themes and topics. So we've got a few different texts that we're going to read, and we've already had some texts that we've read about the idea of explorers and exploring new worlds. And so when we are able to make comparisons between multiple texts, we're able to understand the themes and topics a little bit better. So we'll go a little deeper understanding of explorers and exploration. And our essential question is, how do readers quote accurately from a text when comparing and contrasting themes and topics? So once again, as we've talked about before, you're going to be working hard to quote accurately and take information from the text to support your answers. Today, our objective is I can compare and contrast characters in a text. So our new text that you see today that you should have received is called Beyond the Horizon. And there's going to be some characters in that text that we're going to look at, some of the similarities and differences between those characters as we read pages 1 through 11 today. So make sure you have your text with you. If you don't, I'll display it on the screen, but it might be easier to have your own as you follow along. Please make sure you're following along in your own text as we read. And before I start reading this part, just want you to realize that, based on the drawings on this, it does appear that this is a fictional text, but as we found before, appearances of books can be deceiving, and so we'll find out what kind of text it is as we read. Please go ahead and open to chapter 1, where we will begin.
Chapter 1. How long before you sail? Sarah asked, dropping her eyes to the ground. She could feel the stare of the coachman, Henry, who sat at the front of her father's carriage, the faint shade of a smile on his lips. She could hear the impatient jangle of the reins on the horse's harness as she fixed her eyes on her father, dressed in his captain's uniform. Henry could feel the tension in the air and busied himself securing Sarah's father's traveling chest to the top of the carriage. 3 or 4 days, if conditions favor us, her father said, glancing at the treetops bending in the wind. "3 days, Sarah whispered. And then how many years to follow? I shall return before you know it, Sarah. Why, I wager you and Aunt Mary will not miss me at all." Sarah's father smiled at the stern woman at his daughter's side, but she didn't smile back. Something as warm as a smile rarely graced Aunt Mary's face. "My heart tells me differently," said Sarah, gripping her father's hand tightly. "Please take me with you." Her father reached over and pushed a loose strand of golden hair behind Sarah's ear and ran his warm hand down her cheek. "Have we not trodden this path enough of late? You know India is no place for a girl, nor is the ocean." "India sounds wondrous," said Sarah wistfully. "It is a barbarous place with barbarous people. Mark my words. It is duty alone that drives me," Sarah's father insisted. He shook his head. "There is no more to be said."
Barbarous should remind you a little bit of the word barbarian or barbaric, which seems like kind of a dangerous place.
"Then fare thee well," said Sarah, failing to keep the bitterness from her voice. "Go to your duty," she muttered. "Let us not part on such terms, Sarah," her father whispered softly, his expression sinking. He bent down and kissed her on the cheek. It wasn't until the coach disappeared over the hill and Aunt Mary ordered her to come inside that Sarah realized she had not even returned his kiss. With her father gone little more than a day, the house became a tomb. Dark clouds and rain drained any remaining cheer. Sarah knew then that she had to break free and follow her father, or risk withering away till there was nothing left of her. It was better to take her chances at sea, she thought, and as she pondered, a plan came to her. She would need to act quickly, though. Her father's ship, the Trade's Increase, would soon be setting sail. Henry's spare breeches and tunic were on the clothesline. He was taller than Sarah, and broader too, but they would do. Sarah also knew Henry left his shoes, doublet, and cap by the back door at night. She admired the fine doublet, but it was too grand for her disguise. As she took the other clothes, she hoped he would forgive her. She would take the pennies left by her father and some bread and cheese from the kitchen, and that would be just enough to see her to Gravesend Port. Sarah cut her hair that night by the glow of the kitchen fire, hacking at it with a pair of shears. A part of her ached as she watched her locks drop to the floor, but she knew the golden shackles would hold her back. Lose them and she was unrecognizable, and that was what she needed to be. Sarah pushed what remained of her hair under Henry's cap, her neck suddenly seeming cold and bare. Henry's tunic smelled of earth and sweat. His breeches were loose, and his shoes were damp. Not that any of that mattered. Grabbing her cloth bag, Sarah slipped the latch on the kitchen door without a sound and drifted out into the night. She quickly found the road and set off for the town. A coach to Gravesend would leave at daybreak. Aunt Mary would figure out where she had gone, but by then it would be too late. Sarah doubted her aunt would shed a single tear.
All right, and you can see the picture there, and it looks like something sneaky is happening, and we will figure out more as we continue reading next time. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll have a writing lesson for you shortly after this. Hope you're having a great day, and I will talk to you soon.